13-10, 1 minute and 47 seconds remaining. The Oakland Raiders are about to end the New England Patriots season. They are about to send Tom Brady, a sixth-round draft pick in his first playoff start, home for the winter. They are about to change the course of NFL history. Charles Woodson comes on a blitz. He is unblocked. Tom Brady sees him too late. Woodson crashes into Brady's arm just as the quarterback attempts to bring the ball back to his body. The ball comes loose. It hits the frozen ground. Raiders linebacker Greg Biekert falls on it. Game over. Raiders win. Dynasty prevented. Except that is not what happened. What happened next is the single most controversial play in NFL history, a play that launched a 20-year dynasty, a play that robbed the Raiders of a Super Bowl appearance, a play that the league has never adequately explained. And I am about to show you evidence that suggests the NFL made a decision that night, a decision that had nothing to do with rules or replays, a decision that chose Tom Brady and the New England Patriots over the Oakland Raiders. But this is not just about one play. This is about a pattern of calls, non-calls, and convenient interpretations that has followed Tom Brady throughout his entire career, a pattern that always seems to benefit the same team. By the end of this video, you will see that pattern clearly, and you will have to decide for yourself whether the NFL has been protecting Tom Brady from the very beginning. Let me take you back to that frozen night in Foxborough, January 19th, 2002. But I am not going to start with the play everyone remembers. I'm going to start with something that happened 3 hours earlier, something that set the stage for everything that followed. Before the game, NFL officials held their standard pre-game meeting. Referee Walt Coleman gathered his crew to review points of emphasis and potential situations they might encounter. One topic came up that would later become explosively relevant: the tuck rule. This obscure regulation had been on the books since 1999. It stated that if a quarterback's arm is moving forward during a passing motion and the ball comes loose, it is an incomplete pass rather than a fumble, even if the quarterback has decided not to throw, even if he is bringing the ball back to his body. As long as the arm was moving forward at any point during the motion, the ball is dead. Officials discussed this rule before the game. They reviewed it. They made sure everyone understood its application. Why? This is where the first question emerges. The tuck rule had been called exactly 0 times in a nationally televised game that season. It was obscure to the point of irrelevance. Most fans had never heard of it. Most players did not know it existed. So why did Walt Coleman's crew specifically review this rule before the Raiders and Patriots game? The NFL has never answered this question. They have never explained why an obscure, rarely applied regulation became a point of emphasis on that particular night. Coincidence is one explanation. Officials review many rules before games. Perhaps this was simply thorough preparation. But there is another explanation, an explanation that suggests someone knew this rule might become relevant. Someone anticipated a situation where the tuck rule would need to be applied. I am not saying the game was scripted. I am saying the preparation was unusual, and unusual preparation deserves scrutiny. Let me show you the play itself. Not the replay everyone has seen 1,000 times. I want to show you what happened before the cameras focused on Brady. Charles Woodson lined up in the slot. The Raiders were bringing a blitz designed to confuse New England's protection scheme. Woodson was supposed to come free, and he did. The play was perfectly designed, perfectly executed. Woodson reached Brady before the quarterback could make any decision. This is important. Brady did not choose to throw and then change his mind. Woodson was on him before any choice could be made. The quarterback was reacting purely on instinct when the ball came loose. Watch Brady's body. Watch his eyes. He is not looking downfield. He is not in a throwing motion that he decided to abort. He is absorbing a hit and trying to protect the football. And he failed. The ball came out. Greg Biekert recovered it at the New England 19-yard line. The Raiders' sideline erupted. Players were celebrating. Coaches were calling running plays to drain the clock. The game was over. It took nearly 4 minutes for the official review to conclude. 4 minutes of silence in Foxborough. 4 minutes of Raiders players standing in the freezing cold, waiting for confirmation of what they had clearly seen. Then Walt Coleman walked to midfield and delivered words that still haunt Raiders fans 2 decades later. After reviewing the play, the quarterback's arm was going forward. It is an incomplete pass. The stadium exploded. Patriots players who had been dejected moments earlier began celebrating. The Raiders stood frozen, unable to process what had just happened. An incomplete pass, not a fumble. Brady would get the ball back. The Patriots would kick a field goal to tie the game. They would win in overtime. And Tom Brady would begin a journey that would make him the most successful quarterback in NFL history, all because of an obscure rule that had been reviewed before the game even started. Let me show you something that the NFL does not want you to see. In 2000, 1 year before the tuck rule game, a nearly identical play occurred involving Vinny Testaverde of the New York Jets. Testaverde was hit while attempting to throw. The ball came loose. It was ruled a fumble. No tuck rule was applied. No review overturned the call. The plays are almost indistinguishable. Same arm motion, same type of hit, same result on the field. One was a fumble, one was an incomplete pass. What was the difference? The difference was that one play involved Tom Brady in a playoff game and one involved Vinny Testaverde in a regular season contest. The NFL has never explained why the tuck rule was applied inconsistently. They have never acknowledged that identical plays received different rulings. They simply moved forward and hoped nobody would notice. But people noticed. Raiders fans noticed, and they have been demanding answers ever since. Here is something else that deserves attention. The tuck rule was eliminated in 2013. The NFL's competition committee voted to remove it from the rulebook. The rule was deemed confusing and contrary to the spirit of the game. Think about what that means. The league admitted that the rule was flawed. They acknowledged that it did not produce fair outcomes, and they removed it. But they never apologized to the Raiders. They never admitted that the 2002 application might have been wrong. They never offered any acknowledgement that a franchise had been fundamentally harmed by a bad rule. The NFL simply erased the rule and pretended the past did not matter. But it does matter. It matters because that single call changed everything. It matters because the Raiders were robbed of a game they had won. It matters because the greatest dynasty in NFL history was built on a foundation of controversy. Now let me show you what happened after the tuck rule game, because this is where the pattern truly begins to emerge. The Patriots went on to face the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Championship. They won. They faced the St. Louis Rams in Super Bowl 36. They won again as heavy underdogs. Tom Brady became a star. The Patriots became a dynasty, and the NFL became deeply invested in their success. This is not conspiracy theory. This is business reality. Tom Brady was marketable in ways that few athletes had ever been. He was handsome, he was articulate, he had a compelling personal story of being overlooked and proving doubters wrong. He was dating supermodels, he was appearing on magazine covers. The NFL makes money from stars. The bigger the star, the more valuable the television contracts. The more valuable the television contracts, the more money flows to every owner in the league. Tom Brady was worth billions to the NFL. Literally billions. So when calls started going his way, when rules seemed to bend in his favor, when opponents found themselves facing not just the Patriots, but seemingly the referees as well, the question became unavoidable. Was the NFL protecting its investment? Let me show you specific examples, not theories, not speculation. Documented instances where officiating decisions benefited Tom Brady in ways that defy statistical probability. 2004, AFC Championship, Patriots versus Steelers. Pittsburgh was called for 0 offensive penalties in a conference championship game. That is unusual, but not unprecedented. The Patriots, however, were called for just 1 penalty. In a physical, hard-fought playoff game, the two teams combined for 1 offensive penalty. The beneficiary of this loose officiating was the team with the more physical style of play. The Patriots' defensive backs were notorious for grabbing receivers at the line, holding, interference, contact that should have been flagged. It was not. The Patriots won. Tom Brady reached another Super Bowl. 2005, the NFL implemented new rules regarding illegal contact and defensive pass interference. These rules were known informally as the Brady rules because they seemed designed to help passing offenses like New England's. Why were these rules implemented? The NFL claimed they wanted to increase scoring and make the game more entertaining, but the timing was suspicious. The rules arrived just as Brady was entering his prime. They made it significantly harder to defend against quick passing offenses like the one Brady ran. Coincidence? Perhaps, but the pattern was becoming clear. 2014, the AFC Championship game that became known as Deflategate. The Patriots defeated the Indianapolis Colts 45-7. After the game, it was discovered that the footballs used by the Patriots were inflated below the league minimum. This should have been a simple equipment violation, a fine, a warning, perhaps a minor suspension. Instead, it became a years-long controversy that culminated in the NFL suspending Tom Brady for 4 games. Wait, if the NFL was protecting Brady, why would they suspend him? Here is where you need to understand something important. The NFL was not just protecting Brady, they were protecting the integrity of their product. By appearing to punish Brady harshly, they demonstrated that no player was above the rules. They showed the public that they took cheating seriously. But look at what actually happened. Brady served his 4-game suspension in 2016. The Patriots went 3-1 without him. He returned and led them to a Super Bowl victory, including the greatest comeback in championship game history against the Atlanta Falcons. The suspension did not hurt Brady. It created a redemption narrative. It gave him a villain arc that made his eventual triumph even more compelling. It generated billions in media coverage and audience interest. The NFL did not punish Tom Brady. They created a storyline that made him more valuable than ever. Now let me take you back to the Raiders, because everything connects. The Tuck Rule game did not just launch Brady's dynasty, it destroyed Oakland's franchise for nearly 2 decades. After losing that playoff game, the Raiders returned to the AFC Championship the following year. They won, they reached Super Bowl 37, and they were humiliated by John Gruden and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 48-21. The franchise never recovered. From 2003 to 2015, the Raiders had 1 winning season. 1 in 13 years. They became the laughingstock of the league. They drafted poorly. They coached poorly. They lost constantly. Meanwhile, the Patriots won 6 Super Bowls. Tom Brady became the greatest quarterback in history. The team Brady's fumble should have ended became the most dominant dynasty the sport has ever seen. 2 franchises, 2 completely different trajectories, both determined by 1 call on a frozen night in January. But here is what really haunts Raiders fans. Charles Woodson was on that field. He made the play that should have ended the Patriots' season. He has spent 20 years watching the quarterback he knocked down become an immortal legend. Woodson has spoken about the Tuck Rule game many times. He does not hide his bitterness. He believes he made a clean play. He believes the ruling was wrong. He believes the Raiders were robbed.
And Woodson is not some marginal player with an axe to grind. He's a Hall of Famer, a Heisman Trophy winner, a Defensive Player of the Year, one of the greatest defensive backs in NFL history. When Charles Woodson says the call was wrong, that carries weight. When he says the Raiders should have won that game, that is not just opinion. That is the testimony of a man who was there, who made the play, who watched in disbelief as the referees took it away. Woodson is not alone. Tim Brown was on that Raiders team. He has called the Tuck Rule game the worst officiating decision he ever witnessed. Jerry Rice joined the Raiders the following year. He has spoken about how the Tuck Rule loss still affected the locker room, how players carried the weight of that injustice into the next season. Rich Gannon was the Raiders quarterback, the MVP who would lose the Super Bowl the following year. He has said that the Tuck Rule game changed everything for that franchise, that they never fully recovered from having a victory stolen. These are not anonymous sources. These are Hall of Fame players who lived through that night, and they all say the same thing. The Raiders were robbed, and the NFL has never acknowledged it. Let me show you one more thing, something that ties everything together. In 2021, John Gruden was forced to resign as Raiders head coach after old emails containing offensive language were leaked. These emails were discovered during an investigation into the Washington Commanders. The NFL had these emails for months before releasing them. They chose when to make them public. They chose to destroy John Gruden at a specific moment in time. Why does this matter? Because Gruden was the coach on the opposite sideline during the tuck rule game. He was the man who should have faced Tom Brady in the AFC Championship that year. He was part of the story the NFL wants forgotten. And now he's disgraced, exiled from football, his voice silenced on the subject of tuck rules and stolen games and patterns of favoritism. Every person who could credibly challenge the NFL's narrative about Tom Brady and the Patriots has been marginalized. Al Davis is dead. Gruden is disgraced. The Raiders spent 20 years as a dysfunctional franchise that nobody took seriously. Meanwhile, Brady retired as a hero. The Patriots are celebrated as a dynasty, and the tuck rule game is treated as a quirky footnote rather than the scandal it truly was. The NFL writes history, and they have written the Raiders out of it. So, did the NFL protect Tom Brady against the Raiders? Look at the evidence. An obscure rule reviewed before the game, a call that contradicted previous applications of that rule, a dynasty launched on a foundation of controversy, rule changes that benefited Brady's playing style, billions of dollars in value created by his success, every opposing voice silenced or marginalized. I cannot prove that the NFL deliberately protected Tom Brady. I cannot show you a memo or a recording or a confession, but I can show you a pattern. I can show you outcomes that always benefited the same player and the same team. I can show you a league that has never acknowledged wrongdoing, never apologized to the Raiders, never explained the inconsistencies in how the tuck rule was applied. And I can ask you a question. If the NFL was not protecting Tom Brady, why does all the evidence suggest otherwise? The Raiders lost more than a game on January 19, 2002. They lost a dynasty. They lost a Super Bowl. They lost 20 years of franchise relevance. And Tom Brady gained everything. 6 championships, 3 MVP awards, universal recognition as the greatest quarterback in history. All because of one call, one rule, one decision made on a frozen field in Foxborough. The NFL will never admit what happened. They will never acknowledge that the tuck rule game was anything other than a correct application of existing regulations. They will never apologize to Charles Woodson or Tim Brown or Rich Gannon or the millions of Raiders fans who watched their team be robbed. But you know the truth now. You have seen the pattern. You understand what the NFL has hidden for 2 decades. The greatest dynasty in NFL history was not built on talent alone. It was built on a call that should have gone the other way, a rule that should never have existed, a decision that changed everything. The Raiders know it, the players know it, and now you know it too. The only question left is what you will do with this knowledge. Subscribe to this channel if you want more truth the NFL tries to bury. Share this video if you believe the Raiders deserve justice. And never forget what happened on that frozen night in January. Because the NFL is counting on you to forget. They are counting on time to erase the controversy. They are counting on fans to accept the official story without question. Do not give them what they want. The silver and black remembers, and so should you.